I'm here with Jordin Rueckert today, Kortni's sister. And Jordan, I usually start with the obituaries. So I'm going to read the obituaries of the people you lost, and then we'll dive into it.
Sure. Okay.
And we'll try to get through this today. Kortni Jo Sawyer, age 30, was involved in a fatal car accident on the evening of July 25th with 5 other family members. Kortni was a loving wife and mother of 3. She was born in West Jordan. She played high school volleyball and basketball for West Jordan High School and then went on to coach for her alma mater in 2010. I never liked alma mater. Who started that? It's like your school that you went to. That's all it is. It's terrible. Yeah. I can never say it. Anyway. Her positive energy was recognized by all who were privileged to play with
or for her.
Jordan, I'm having weird. Did you write this or did Lindsay? Who wrote these? Did you write these?
When you finish them, I was going to tell you I'm super insecure about this because I feel like I could have done better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Lindsay helped us with the first half of that one. And then we had to finish it. And then, sorry. Not a good start.
No obituaries are hard.
Well, and no one tells you this, but like 2 days after they die, you have to sit down and someone has to write them. And it just fell on me. I mean, I think a lot of things, that was kind of my way of coping from the start, was if I can just take care of everything. I felt like I was there for her. Anyway, so when I read those obituaries, I feel like I didn't do them right. I mean, nobody teaches you what you're supposed to put in them, you know? So your family wrote Race and Ryder, and then we started writing Kortni's, and then things go on, and I had to sit down and finish writing it, and then write Frankie's and Riggs.
Yeah, because I just had this, I don't even know what I was doing. I think I was just in my room maybe, but I do remember like watching you get up from the table and walk away crying and just had to step away for a minute. Like I just have that in my brain. Mm. And I didn't mean anything by the alma mater thing. I just was about to cry, and so then I thought if I could make a joke, then I won't cry.
No, you're
fine. And then you started crying.
No, I was actually going to talk about that as like, I feel that's one of the things I feel like, I mean, I just didn't want to let her down in any way. And I kind of feel like I didn't list survived by at the end. I mean, if you read Races, it's so much longer. And I'm like, I just feel like I didn't do her justice. So that's one of my insecurities that you started with.
This is going to be so healing for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so.
No, I thought about rewriting it.
No.
No, don't rewrite it.
It's in the ether. It's out on the internet and everything. I guess I could add to it.
Thanks for writing it.
Yeah. I thought somebody at the funeral home was assigned to them and they wrote them. So maybe that's something not everybody knows.
No, I didn't. Like I said, I don't even remember what I was doing. Okay. But like, I feel like that too, Jordan, sometimes with public speaking is like, oh, I didn't talk about Ryder really at all. Or I didn't talk. And my brother Race, he just has an amazing story about fighting that guy at Madison Square Garden. And and it just ties in so well with dealing with adversity and trauma and grief. Mm-hmm. Like, who fights people at Madison Square Garden? Like, no one really does that. Mm-hmm. And so not that, I mean, Korni has plenty of amazing stories too, but like, in terms of a public speaker, like that story just is easy to use and work with and talk about. And I feel so bad that like, I'm like, man, like, I feel like I talk about race more than Kortni sometimes.
Yeah.
And that messes with me too.
I totally relate to that. I mean, I do that I just always talk about when my sister died, and I don't, I just say that. And then I have to add that 2 of her kids died too, and I feel that sometimes too, like, oh, I don't mention them enough. I don't, because there's this feeling that you have to do the right thing for them.
Yeah.
And that's been my huge way of coping the whole time, was how do I do right by them? So I get
Well,
that.
that's make you like struggle with, yeah, because they just spin around in your head all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, am I giving each one the proper attention that they deserve?
That's why I don't envy you at all with, first of all, losing, the 5 that you lost and then talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that, but I think it's admirable.
Well, I do think it's just practice like anything else. Like,
Mhm.
I've just done it so much that you get better at it.
Yeah.
And if I talk about the same type of stuff, I usually get through it without crying. But if I bring up new topics, it usually tears
It's
are
almost
shed.
like you get the script going and it's
Yeah.
onto it, and then I know.
But if a question or something else pops up and I'm like, oh my, like and then memories will, like, I had memories come back when I was reading this. I'm like, oh my God, like, I think Jordin wrote this actually. I remember her crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see, where do we she played. Okay. Her positive energy was recognized by all who were privileged to play with her. She met Mason in high school, and they later married in Salt Lake Temple after he served a 2-year mission in Alabama. Basketball continued to be part of their life at Dixie State University, where Mason played on the team. There while Kortni was earning her nursing degree. While in college, they grew their family with their firstborn, Riggins Michael. They went on to add 2 more children to their family, Julian Blue in 2017 and Frankie Quinn in 2019. Kortni was a natural mother and found happiness in being a caretaker in her home as well as in her profession as a nurse. Kortni brought so much joy to everyone around her, always singing at the top of her lungs and dancing. She was competitive and had a fierce passion and zest for life. Kortni is survived by Mason and Julian. Her family will continue to love her spirit and will miss her forever. She took 2 of her babies with her. Okay. Love you, Kortni. Miss you. Frankie Quinn Sawyer, age 2, was involved in a fatal car accident on the evening of July 25th with 5 family members. Frankie was born in Riverton, Utah, and she hit the ground running. She was her mama's mini-me, her daddy's little princess, and her brother's shadow. That's the truth right there.
Mm-hmm.
She made sure that she was always heard and would not be outdone by her brothers. Frankie loved horses, candy, and her bunny. She brought the sweetness to her family, and the world won't be the same without her. She was accompanied to heaven by her mother and big brother. She is survived by Mason and Julian. Riggins Michael Sawyer, age 6, was involved in a fatal car accident on the evening of July 25th with 5 family members. Riggins was born in St. George, Utah. He just graduated from preschool and was so excited to start kindergarten. He was the best big brother to Julian and Frankie. He loved Spider-Man, dinosaurs, and playing basketball with his daddy. He had a smile that could light up any room. Riggins was taken from us way too soon, but his mother had him and his sister in her arms as they left this world. He is survived by Mason and Julian Blue. All right. Music's in.
Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it.
Thanks for writing those, Jay.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the 1090 podcast, where life is 10%. Oh, man. All right. Okay. Welcome back to the 1090 podcast, where life is 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it. I'm here with Jordin Rueckert. Jordin, are we going to be able to do this?
I don't know, Mace. I told you I
All right.
didn't know what to expect from myself today. I think we can.
I think we can do it. We're good. It's weird because I did a speaking gig a couple weeks ago. My parents came to it, and I would talk to them after, and they're pretty emotional. And they said something like, "It's just really heavy to hear." And we were just talking about it, and I said something like, "I just do it a lot, so I've gotten better at it." But like, I don't know how much my family does talk about it. I don't know how much you talk about it, and it's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, we need a couple hours to carve out to really talk. Like, you can't just, hey, Dave, before you go to work, like, and so I think because of that, and then it's just scary and it hurts
Yeah.
when you talk about it. And there's just all of a sudden you have a lot of good reasons to not talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for coming on. I know it's scary.
I appreciate it. I have looked at it like it's going to be a therapy session because I
Yeah.
haven't talked about this a lot with a lot of people. So
Yeah. That's how I view the podcast, is basically therapy.
yeah.
Recorded and then posted.
Yeah, and shared with everyone.
We've been friends. I mean, I was friends with your husband, Dave, since maybe 7th grade.
Yeah.
And then you two were dating in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Dave kind of set me up, kind of lied to me. But he's like, Kortni really likes you, thinks you're cute. And he wanted me to go on a double date with you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow. And I thought she was super cute. I'm like, wow, she likes me? And so I'm all confident, like, oh, she likes me. So I go over there and ask her out. And then we double date. I remember we'd go to those drive-in movies.
Yeah.
I think we were seeing Spider-Man. And the goal was to hold her hand. Like, we're 15. Like, I just play basketball my whole life. I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It took me the whole movie to hold her hand. Like, you're just inching your hand over there. It gets to her leg. Like, okay, like, she hasn't slapped me. I think it's fine. Like, maybe I'll try for the hand hold. And then, like, it's intense. But that's how we started dating. And then, like, I don't know, like, we just were best friends. Like, we just couldn't stop talking and never got sick of each other. But we had good times in high school.
Yeah.
Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Think about him a lot.
I know. Sometimes it takes looking at pictures to remember them, but I know we did a lot together. Yeah, which is Korni was just a part of everything. Everything.
She made everything better.
Yeah.
I remember. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
No, this should be your podcast. I've talked a lot.
No, you're fine. She did. I mean, but that's the thing. We weren't just sisters. We were close enough that it was sports, it was dating, it was everything. I mean, and then
You guys shared a car, shared a bedroom.
Yeah. We fought. I mean, that's the thing. You don't talk about the negatives when
you guys
they
would
die.
fight like crazy. And Casey,
Oh, yeah.
too. I'd just be sitting there like, Jesus Christ, man. It's just a shirt. You guys can't take turns wearing the shirt?
I know. So we were a year apart in school. And then I didn't go to high school with Casey, but Kortni did. So Kortni was kind of like, she was part of my life, and then she was part of Casey's life. And they shared a room after me. So yeah, there was a lot of fighting, but I think, ultimately that's what makes you closer. I don't know.
She do you guys' laundry?
Yeah.
Or would she just do Chad and Jared's? I don't remember.
We all had our chores. And I think she always did laundry. And then I feel like I feel like I got married, moved out, got married, and didn't live with the boys, but she was waiting for you. So Dave didn't go on a mission. So we got married young.
like
19, 20. Yeah. And then my Kortni and Casey both lived at home longer because Kortni waited for you. And then Casey was, she ended up marrying your mission companion. So anyway, so they have a lot of memories of living together as adults, which I don't have. I feel like a lot of my teenage memories, became obsessed with dating Dave and moving out. So a lot of that gets fuzzy, which is kind of sad, which is why I need pictures to remember a lot of stuff. Remember when we went ice skating?
Yeah.
And you were dressed like the
alligator.
The gator suit.
I forgot about the gator suit time. Oh my God. And then there were like people there because I had that alligator suit on with the tail.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's like Russian skaters there and like put the helmet on or put the head on backwards.
Oh.
Because then the tail turns into just a big schlong. And they just loved it.
Oh my God.
And so like, put this on backwards. Yeah. Oh my God. I forgot about that. But yeah.
I saw that picture the other day.
The alligator suit.
Yeah. I mean, so many memories. I mean, I remember getting her like a gift when you left on your mission to help her, miss you, or she was going to miss you. So I got her a bunch of things.
Did you know I wrote her 104 letters and burned 104 CDs with one song on each CD is all.
Oh my gosh.
And I gave it to her before I left on my mission. And I'm like, here's one letter and song. And the song and the letter like went together, like the message or whatever. And like, so just I didn't know how a mission worked. And you couldn't email back then.
Right. It's different.
So like in case like something happens and I can't write you a letter, like you'll at least have one letter a week from me. And I numbered them like 1, 2, 3. And anyway, I gave that to her. But like, yeah.
I remember she wrote you every day, was it? People made fun of her like crazy.
My companions would make fun of me.
Yeah.
Like another letter? Like I'd get 3 letters a week from her.
Yeah.
For 2 years. Like I thought it would die off after month 3. Like no, like month 23, 3 letters a week.
That's what's crazy.
And one of the letters was long, Jordan. Because 2 other letters were just quick. Like, here's what I've done.
One was long.
But one letter was like responding to my letter. And that was like, and I would just, like love P-Day, just getting that letter.
Yeah, you guys were, I mean, people say what they say about high school sweethearts, but you guys were committed early on. Like, people don't do that.
It was weird.
Yeah.
And never had a desire, even in high school, like, oh, like, she's also cute. Like, I just, Kortni
just happened.
It was everything, man.
Remember the summers in your basement watching, was it like the Colonian Foot Soldier?
We watched, oh my God, yeah, you and Dave would come over. And we watched Saturday Night Live, Will Ferrell, Colonian Foot Soldier. And Kortni thought it was I remember we watched The Office a lot.
Oh, right.
Because The Office just came out season 1.
At the Howards.
And the Howards would watch all those jazz games.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked Kortni for a haircut so I could take my shirt off. I thought that was like smart. Like just skinny, scrawny kid anyway. But in high school I thought I was like shredded. I'm ripped. I got to take my shirt off. I don't know.
Seal the deal.
If she sees me with my shirt off,
it's over.
Yeah, and then she did a terrible job cutting my hair and didn't tell me. Like, just butchered the back. It's crooked.
Yeah. I did the same thing to Dave on our engagement pictures.
That's-
Right up the back of his neck.
That's what Marsha's for. She can fix it.
Or maybe we both are too confident in cutting hair because our mom did. So we just got.
How about Kortni's like so competitive, but also
Gosh.
wants everyone to do their best?
Oh, yeah.
It's like the weirdest combo.
And you always know, like, those who knew her knew you don't mess with her. People who just kind of slightly knew her, oh, sweetest person ever. And she was the sweetest person ever. But she was feisty.
She was.
We had to stop playing family board games because of that. No, for real.
It was the girls, too. It was you, Casey, and Jordan would just be going crazy. No, you can't do that. I rolled a 6. No, it was a 5. It was a 5. I rolled a 6. You can't do that.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
I
know. Should we just start day of what that day was like for you?
Sure.
Because I don't know what it was like for you.
Yeah, so we had been, we got really into Marco Polo during COVID, me and Kortni and Casey and my mom. And
Which I found quite annoying at the time, but now love.
Well, and occasionally it was annoying, you had to answer everybody. But exactly. I'm so glad we have it now. But she let us know, like that Thursday, I remember her saying, I'm going to Bear Lake. Decided to go to Bear Lake. Mason's family's going there. He has to work. Anyway, so we kind of knew what she was doing. I remember I have a Marco Polo saying, well, maybe I'll drive up there. I've been wanting to go there. Dave has to work. Maybe I'll just meet you up there. And we didn't do that. But so the Sunday they were coming up, she rode with Race. And she said something about, we'll try and stop on the way up. But I don't think they ended up doing that. So on the way back is when they stopped just to say hi. So
they stopped at Trent and Marsh's, right?
Uh-huh. So on Sunday, like afternoon-ish, she's like, hey, we're at Mom and Dad's, and so me and the girls went over there just to see them because you guys had just moved down to St. George, which was already emotional for us because the kids had been babysat together for so long. We had gotten used to, I'd come over and Kortni would babysit the kids and I'd sit on your couch and we'd talk forever.
Yeah.
It just kind of got to be to where we got used to each other. And then you guys were moving, which was great because then I could, visit there a lot. But it was still kind of hard. So when she was there, we were like, okay, we got to go see him. So we went over there and they were all getting their hair done. I remember Race and Ryder were there and Lila was convinced that Race was you. And she was 3.
Mason.
Yeah, she's like, Mom, it's Mason. And I'm like, no, that's actually his brother, Race. And she's like, bye, Mason.
And Race would probably go along with it too, like, oh, hi,
so
I'm
nice.
Mason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So nice. And I remember talking to Ryder. I didn't really know him that well, but we talked that day. He was so sweet and he was helping all the little kids, which, older, that age boy usually isn't interested. Yeah. And he was so cute with all the kids. And they were all getting their hair done. And I remember we were leaving and I gave all your kids a kiss, which I'm grateful for. Oh, and I remember I was leaving and Kortni was standing in my mom's shop right there, and she turned and I remember she just looked so good to me. She was so tan. She was like sure of herself. I just remember like saying bye and we're going to be down there soon. We were coming down in August to celebrate your boys' birthdays. So I remember her face and just said, bye. Didn't give her a hug. I wish I would have. And then Race was laying out on the lawn when we left. And that's when Lila said, bye, Mason. And we left. And then I remember, so I went home. Sorry, I don't know how detailed I should get here.
No,
it's going to take forever.
This is perfect.
Went home and took a nap, which the only reason I say that is because I think I was napping when the accident happened. But anyway, so then I made dinner. We're sitting around the dinner table and my mom, I can't remember if she called or texted me, but she said, I just got a call from Mason's mom. And she said that Mason and Keisha are talking to a doctor and they don't know, she doesn't know what's going on. And she said, I can't get a hold of Kortni. she said they should be home by now. And I think it was like 7. And so I immediately thought, because you had your motorcycle down there and it had been raining. And so I thought, well, maybe he crashed his motorcycle and Keisha's with him and Kortni just isn't wanting to talk to my mom about it right now. So I texted Kortni, I think, tried to call her, didn't answer. And then I texted her and said, hey, because I thought, well, maybe she doesn't want my mom to know what's going on. So I said, hey, mom's pretty worried. Just let me know what's going on. And my mom was home alone because my dad and Jared had gone, I think, to Ogden to pick something up that my dad had bought. So she was home alone. And I could tell she was nervous. She was worried. And, like you do, you're like, Mom, they're fine. And so I called her or texted her, can't remember now which. And I said, hey, do you want to come over here while you wait to hear from her? Just come over here so you're not alone. And Dave was sitting there and he started looking up news stories just to see. And he said, oh, there's a sandstorm. And I said, oh, so do you think they're stuck in traffic? Because that's kind of what you think. And he kind of like had this like wide-eyed look on his face. And I, sat there for a second. And then my mom called me. So it was about like 2 or 3 minutes. We knew that had happened. And then she called me and just said, she just said, Kortni's dead. Sorry. And I just said, no, she's not. And then I just kind of threw the phone and broke down. And Dave picked up the phone. And so my mom started telling him that everyone was dead, that the kids were gone too. And I was just falling apart and not realizing that Liv was standing there. I'm sorry.
You can take your time, Jay.
So my 9-year-old was standing there and heard that her cousins had passed away and she starts falling apart. But it was kind of confusing because she said one kid's alive, And so Dave hung up with her and I was just on the ground falling apart. And then I called my mom back and I said, Mom, this isn't real. This isn't happening. And my poor mom's at home having to call all of us. She had to call my dad and tell him. So she's home alone, just calling everyone. So we went over there, got there, and she has asthma and she was not breathing very well anyway. So we got there. I was throwing up in the bathroom. We all just kind of got there and, and then I just remember family coming over and being there, showing up. I don't know the timeline of everything. And then my dad finally got there. I guess all of us wanted to know where you were. And so then they said you were on your way up. And that Blue was being, who we thought was Blue, was being life flighted to the, to Primary Children's. And so my mom had called my dad to go to the hospital to be there when he got there. So that somebody could identify him because they weren't sure. Anyway, and I think your family did the same thing. So your family and then Jared and my dad went to the hospital. And so we were all at my mom's house. Neighbors start coming over. Everybody starts hearing about it. And I think, Christian Wooden found out, I think from probably my dad's family, who then told Boudreaux. So then the whole team, everybody that we played basketball and stuff with, started finding out. So they all started reaching out that night. Anyway, and we were there that night and we just started realizing we got to figure out what we do. So I called the Fillmore Hospital, and just asked, I didn't know what happens. I said, do you have, there was a car accident. And they said, well, if they are dead, they don't bring them to the hospital. They take them directly to the morgue. So I called the morgue, and he said they were still trying to get them out of the car, but that he would call me as soon as he received, he got their bodies. And so then we just spent, then me and Dave and Casey and Alex, I think it was just the four of us, decided to go to the hospital to meet you there. So we went to primaries, walked in, and it was, COVID times. So you had to check in at the desk. And so we said, hey, we're here to see the people from the accident. And she said, well, we don't have any names, but we have an unidentified blonde boy. And we said, yeah, that's who we came to see. And they, she was like, well, I'm not sure we can have all of you back there. I'm not sure, how they kind of do. I'm sure they get a lot. And I just remember getting so mad at her. Like, we just lost a bunch of our family members tonight. Can you please not be rude to us today? And so then she was a lot more helpful. And then we got into the room where you were with Blue and your family was in there, just watching. None of us knew what state you'd be in. All of us were very concerned about you. And so it was good to see you. It was good to see Blue okay. But it's so crazy because instantly in that room, I started talking to your mom about what funeral home we wanted to use. I mean, that's just, I don't think people get like how fast, like someone you love and care about who's a good person, how fast they're just gone in like a violent way. And then now they're just being transported in a vehicle by themselves to some morgue, and then they just sit there while you find a funeral home. I mean, it's just not, it feels so inhumane.
That's why, like, there's always a part in my public speaking where I talk about how no one cares.
Yeah.
And that's why I talk about it.
Yeah.
There's that feeling like,
well, and
like, yeah, like, what the, like, if we realize how quickly no one gives a shit the minute you die, you would stop worrying so much about people's criticisms of you and how to fit the mold. Like, they don't fucking care about you that much.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and just to, like, I had so much hurt because I just pictured her when I called the hospital and the morgue told me they were still in the car. Like, she's just, her body is just sitting there alone. And it just makes no sense that it's just a picture that, I mean, that whole, so anyway, the guy from the morgue who actually was really sweet, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, he called me back and he said, they're here. Do you want to know anything about it? And at that point, me and your mom had talked about what they do, and that once you find a funeral home, they call and request the bodies delivered. So I didn't have any questions for him, but he was so sweet and wanted to make sure that he honored them, and that was awesome. And then the rest of that night, I spent the night at my parents' because I couldn't leave, and me and my dad just sat and watched the news because they had the footage on the news. We just kept trying to see your car and like what had happened, and we just watched it on a loop. And that's when I just kept picturing her there alone, and just what you wish for your loved ones is not that. And she's just, all of them, the last thing they deserved was to be sitting there unattended because they're in Fillmore and nobody's close. Anyway, that night, I just remember, my dad got home eventually and was really the strong one for all of us. Just, was really trying to like let us know that we would all be okay. But that night he walked out to the backyard. It was like 3 a.m. and just wailed, just really hurt, and was releasing it kind of when nobody could. I hope he doesn't care that I'm saying that. But anyway, just a lot of pain. Just a lot of pain. And then the next day, you start planning funerals. We had to, Shannon and Lindsay and your mom and me and Casey and my mom were like going back and forth with information about, what are we going to do for this funeral? What are we, writing the obituaries? The day, so Tuesday, so Monday we just had to start talking about all that stuff. And then Tuesday, our friends from high school planned that candlelight vigil for Kortni, which was awesome, but crazy. I hadn't showered. I didn't even get dressed, but it was so fun to go there and spend time with people that loved her. And that week was such a fuzzy time. And you were completely couldn't function. I remember.
I don't even remember what I was doing.
Yeah. And so you were at the hospital overnight. And then you had to be with Blue, and they wouldn't release Blue until he would eat. I remember that. And you were like, I just told him he ate because we need to get out of here. And I don't remember what day that was, Monday or Tuesday. We went and picked you up from the hospital and drove home. And I remember you looking at us and being like, what am I going to tell him when he asks where his mom is? And we were like, this is unfathomable pain that all of a sudden you have to be there for this family and for, and it's like, what do we even do? I don't even know what to tell you, Mace. This is the worst thing I've ever been through. And I don't know, and so we're just trying to be there for you. Went to your mom's house. Everybody's falling apart. It was just, Keisha's there. It's just crazy. And the amount of people that were involved directly, not even indirectly, all of us that had to sit in the funeral planning room, there was probably 20 people because it was touched so many families. Anyway, sorry. I don't know if I'm just rambling, but.
No, I remember, because when the guy told me about it, he's like, there's been a car accident, multiple cars. There's one survivor. And so I was really scared and unsure that I didn't know if the one survivor was in my car or total, just overall. No.
Yeah, right.
So I didn't know. I wasn't sure if it was Blue. And so when I called my parents and your parents.
Yes. There was all these calls going around.
And I think that's where everyone was unsure if it was Blue or not, because I was unsure. I didn't know.
Yeah. And I don't think you even knew. I don't think we even knew till he landed at the hospital. At least that's what I was told.
And I remember the car ride there was 4 hours, and my phone was just every second, just a text or a phone call. And I was getting so mad because they said the life flight for Blue would be 45 minutes. And it was like an hour and a half has gone by.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is he dead? And they didn't fly him. Did the helicopter crash? Is it even my kid? And that's why they're not telling me, because it's not my kid.
Right.
And so I'm just complete. And I remember telling Jake, I think, Jake, if this ain't Blue, or I'm done. I'm going to kill myself.
Well, that's what all of us, Tolman and Dave were like, we have to find Mace, because we didn't know, there was a lot of what we didn't know was going on. And a lot of this story, I didn't even know your whole perspective until you started sharing it. And then I was like, okay, so that's what happened. That was what was happening while we were up here thinking this. And anyway, so that was the big concern, was find him, make sure he's not driving off a cliff.
And he told me everyone's dead except one person. And then hold on. So he calls me, like, there's been a car accident. I immediately text Keisha. So I put him on speaker, and I text Keisha, like, come get me. There's been an accident.
So she called
and
your mom.
I bet that. And so while I was taking the phone call, I bet she texted my mom and was like, there's been an accident.
Mason's talking to a doctor.
And then who knows how long I was crying and yelling on the floor until.
Well, and then I heard from my mom. So your mom called her and said, I think she said something like, are you sitting down, or something like that. So your mom had to tell my mom that everyone was gone. And then she did, I can't imagine picking up the phone and calling a fresh person and just telling everybody over the phone. It was just crazy.
It like you're you're so right though. Like Kortni was. It's frustrating because everyone dies and they just turn into the amazing
A
person,
saint,
and
yeah.
it's like at this point, I just think it's disrespectful to the people who are actually good people. But like Kortni was the best, Jay, and
Well,
you said it. Like she didn't deserve her body
no.
to die, and then the way it's so
Well, and I think
confusing to
that's
me.
what I was telling you at the beginning. I think that thought, because I don't know what Chase and Ashton at the funeral, at the viewing, I think he came down, he saw me standing there and he came down and said, I just want to say something to you. And he's the only person that's really put it to me this way, which is why I bring him up. But he said, you're the oldest like I am. And he said, I know that you felt like you needed to protect her. And I feel like I had a lot of that. And that's been a lot of my coping strategy too, is I feel sort of motherly towards her. And I sort of feel like I treated her that way in life too. I mean, I'm having kids and then she's having kids. So I'm like letting her know how it's going to be. And we got very close that way. I mean, even in just growing up, Kortni, I was very dominant and she was very passive. And so she would kind of just follow me around. And I feel like that's kind of our relationship all the way up. And so then when I pictured her alone, I mean, I couldn't be there for her. And so then it was like instantly like, well, then I'm going to plan the funeral. I'm going to speak at the funeral. I'm going to write the obituary. I'm going to do everything I possibly can. I'm going to I don't know what day it was, like Thursday, my mom pulled us all in a room and said the funeral home is asking if any of us want to go help dress them. And at first it was like nobody wanted to go. Everyone was like, we can't deal with that. We can't even see it. And then I just had this overwhelming thought, like, I can't let her babies go and have some stranger take care of them. And so I was like, Mom, I have to go. I have to do it. I'll do it for her. I'll do it for her kids. And then it ended up that our entire family was there. So your family all took care of Race and Ryder. And then we took care of Kortni and the kids. And Race and Kortni, we couldn't see them. We could only see, well, I don't know about Race. We never saw him, but for Kortni, we could only see her arm. And so we couldn't dress her just in the state that she was in, but we got to dress Frankie and Riggs. And my friend Whitney Woodruff, she made us bracelets for all the girls in the family and for Kortni and Frankie. So we put those bracelets on them and they were buried in them. And then, Livy made a bracelet for Riggs. She was into those little tie bracelets at the time. So she made it. So we put that on. So it was very meaningful and powerful to be there. I mean, it was hard. And, they're there, but they're not there. But that was just another way and so I've done that over the years. I've really tried to, I think that's the way that I deal with grief is I am overactive. I've learned that some people, I mean, everybody that was so closely involved, there was so many varying degrees of the way people were grieving. And a lot of people, it was shutting down and not getting out of bed. And for me, I just thought I just don't have that. I guess I just don't get depressed kind of feeling. And then I learned that my way of coping is to be overactive, which, I think maybe your mom's that way. I think my mom's that way. And so it just became the more I can do, then I don't have to feel my feelings. And so anyway, it took me a while to learn that, but it's an urge, and I've heard it from other people, it's an urge to take care of them, at least in their death, because you feel like you weren't able to be there for them at the last minute.
Yeah, I had the same mindset. Like I wasn't there. I should have been. So I remember thinking at the funeral, like I got like I can talk about like I really liked that funeral, actually, like being able to talk about him. And I remember having like this determination, like, because part of me wasn't sure if I could talk at all. And then another part was like, dude, like, you have to.
Like a responsibility.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I felt like, anyway. But I think that with podcasting too, like, just trying to make up for something you can
Yeah.
never make up.
Mhm.
But yeah, like, trying to make some good come from it. It's so interesting to hear you have, I'll use the word guilt and shame about Kortni dying, because I mean, I have that too, and with the kids, and that's a daily curse. um, at least it has been for me. I didn't know so much of that. I didn't know. I do remember going to the funeral home. I saw Frankie, and I didn't see Riggins. And then, like, the next day or week, I felt so awful I didn't see Riggins.
Yeah.
I still feel awful I didn't see Riggins. Frankie looked like an angel, though.
Yeah.
And then I remember, like, the questions, too, like, and my mom would come in and be like, what songs do you want to sing? Or who do you want to speak? Or I remember them asking me, how do you want them buried? Like, do you want to bury Frankie and Riggins together? Or I'm like,
which casket do you want?
And every question, I just felt like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, what is that? What's the absolute best thing? I want to do the best thing. I don't know what that is.
Well, and that's just, I guess, just something that, I mean, you hear people go through these steps, but it's for their grandparents. It's for somebody that has made those choices for themselves. You know, like, at least you've talked about them dying. You know, you asked me, which I'm grateful that you asked me to go with to plan the headstones. And I was standing there like, I think they asked you, what would she want or something? And you're like, what would she want on her headstone? I don't know. We never got there.
Yeah,
it was
we
like,
never talked about that one.
Like, wanting to honor someone in their death that never got close to talking about death. I mean, we did have conversations with Kortni, not about, just not that you'd ever think this was going to happen, but we would talk about, like, yeah, like, if we die, like, who's going to care? That's another thing is, who's going to care about our kids as much as we do? We talked about that, like, and that's, a lot of my coping was with Blue. And, like, I have to treat him like my own because I can't let him not have a mom, And so that was, I feel like, I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like I tried to take over that just to feel like whatever she would want, I want to do for him. And anyway, I think it was a coping.
No, I think that was a beautiful thing for both of you. I think he needed you and you needed him. I remember I basically lived at your house. I mean, between you and Sage's house that first year. Remember, I'd just lose it sometimes. And you guys would have to come get me, and I'd just be shaking.
Oh, man.
I'd physically shake.
Some of your panic attacks, Mace, I remember just looking at Dave. I mean, that's another. Dave has been there with me the whole time, and I'm so grateful for that because there's times when he had to hold you down while you were having a panic attack, and it was like, you're like, I don't know, like you were just hard times. I mean, physical stuff that we never dealt with. I remember sitting up with you at 3 a.m. and, you're just falling apart, and we were like, how do you help someone? How do we even help him? Especially, and then I'm like looking at a picture of Kortni, like, I'm in the worst pain I've ever felt. Like, how do I help when I'm, falling apart too? I mean, just crazy emotions that year after. 2 years after, just crazy times, stuff that I never thought I would deal with. And I can't imagine you, Mace.
Yeah, thank you, though. Well, those were some rough moments.
Well, you know what, Mace? Thanks for letting me be a part of your life that after, because I felt like that gave me a purpose. So thank you.
I I think my support group is greatly underappreciated and not talked about enough with my story. Like, I mean, you're just one. I mean,
Yeah.
I could have 100 podcasts with people like you that were in the family that would
Right.
have the,
Right.
who knows what they went through that day and how they coped. And,
I know.
But like everyone was willing to help me and help Blue. And I didn't fully, grasp it at the time because I was just hurting so much.
Yeah.
But I I mean, I knew, but I didn't really realize that everyone around me was hurting so bad.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy to say because, like, how would you, but like, I was so much just in my own head and pain that I just,
Yeah. Well, I
the
could,
amount of help I got with my family grieving something so heavy is, I just love my family and friends
yeah.
and thank you to everyone.
Yeah. Well, it was trauma bonding for sure. I mean, the stuff you go through like that, just you can't walk away from those people that felt that pain, you know?
Well, like, and like, I love coming to your house because,
Aw.
like, the July 25th, 2021, like, the world ended for me
Yeah.
that day. Like, it's over. And so then life's really weird and hard because, like, you're on your phone or everyone's talking about how the world might end. And I'm like, it already ended. Like,
Yeah.
it's over. But when I go to your house and some other people's houses, I feel like we get each other. Like, we understand the world blew up, but we still got to be here for some reason.
Right.
And I just, that's a lot. That does a lot for me. Just the feeling of I'm understood. That's a good feeling to have, I think.
I get that from you as well because one of the last times, I think it was, I don't know, but you walked in, you know, we didn't know you were here. You walked in and I talked to you and then I told Dave after, I'm like, man, there's something about when you're around that I feel like I can be myself.
Yeah,
Like everything's right again. And I think it's because we went through that together. And in some way, you represent Kortni for me still. I mean, in some way, in all ways. So I feel like, oh, you know, that like my heart is healed for the minute. So
yeah. Well, how you doing now? It's been a few years.
yeah. You know, I listened to your last podcast and I you know, I thought a lot about your 90-10 principle, right? And I'm like, what is my 90%? I don't know. I haven't become a therapist. I haven't done anything cool like that. But I can say now it's been over 3 years and right off the bat, people would say things, you know, you've talked about someday you're going to be able to help people who've been through this, right? You know, this is good. You can help people now. And I would get so angry about that. Because I didn't want to see anything good in my sister's death. Like there was no reason she should have been smashed like that. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but anyway, for a long time that was really hard for me to see the good. And I feel like now I'm starting to be able to say out loud that not that there's a reason she died and that she should have and that it was part of any plan, because I don't believe that. But I do see what how much I've become better from it because I've been able to find out what matters in life and say that, you know, first of all, that I was able to know and be a part of someone's life that I feel like taught me so many lessons. And also, I mean, I've had so many friends and family members who've been through hard things. And for, you know, because I have too, I think they're willing to come to me and talk about those things. And I can see them as people and be there for them in ways I never could have before. I was very naive to what mattered in life. And I wouldn't have said it, but I really thought I was kind of me and the people I love were kind of above this kind of pain. It wouldn't happen. We make good choices. We don't do dumb things. And that's not the case. Bad things happen to great people and bad people. You know what? Life just happens to everyone, and we're all just left to support each other. And I think what matters in life is connection with other people. And, in Kortni being gone and her kids being gone and her not being able to raise them, I feel like it's put a new focus on the fact that I can raise my kids right now. So I'm really trying to do that better. I don't know. That's what I guess I feel like my 90% is. And I feel like I do better, but I really just don't think about it. And obviously, when I call it back, it hurts just as bad. There's nothing that's changed about her being gone. There's actually pain that goes on because there's so many things that happen that are new losses. Like, she's not a part. Like, when my oldest turned 12, I just felt this need to, like, hey, Court, she's 12 years old. You were a part of every part of her life. I felt an urge to want her to see that. And, Lila looks a lot like Kortni. I get told that all the time. And Lila's, she's kind of she's got a strong personality. And a lot of people like to kind of point out those things to me. And I always think about that Kortni was always loved Lila, and Lila called her mom. And so there's things like that I just wish she was here for. And those things hurt. That she can't be. But in general, I think I'm okay. And I can see the light now for my life, where before I couldn't. So.
Yeah, like even dropping Blue off at school, or like his first touchdown.
Yeah.
Or he's skating. Like, and I think the pain is always going to be there.
Yeah.
But like kind of what you were saying, that you kind of eventually started to realize the lessons that you can take from it.
Yeah.
But I was like you for so long, like there's nothing good.
Yeah.
And when people referred to Blue as a miracle, that just, like that was a terrible day. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And they don't
That's
realize.
not a miracle.
Right. They don't realize that on one side of the coin is a miracle for Blue, and on the other is the others didn't deserve the miracle. And
right.
It was both. And so I know I had the same reaction.
But I think, and the other thing I've been frustrated with is like, I think people's number one goal when they see me or want to talk to me is, let's just ease the pain. Like, let's not make him feel bad. And it makes me feel crazy.
Yeah.
It makes me feel insane.
Yeah.
When you tell me it'll be okay. Because I don't feel okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing about it is okay ever.
Right. After I had so much anxiety and pain inside and I had never really understood people that said they felt anxiety. But I remember at night, I couldn't shut my brain off. It would just be, and I would feel like I'm going to explode. So I started writing in my phone. I would just write little entries. And that's one of the things I wrote, was you can't, like we were talking about before we started, there's certain things you can't fix. And don't try, because don't pretend, I've probably thought of everything you're going to say. I've probably tried everything you're going to say. And there's some things you can't fix, and you just have to sit with it. And a lot of people aren't comfortable, and I wasn't before this, sitting in the unfixable.
Yeah.
And just saying, no, it's awful, and here we are.
This is your life now.
Yeah, because the human urge is to make it better, right? Well, there's got to be a healing part for you. There's something here that will make you feel better. You just have to do it. And I think that really made me, and has made me, push a lot of people away, because there is no healing. And I think, and part of me feels like healing it would be not acknowledging that she's gone and not honoring that she's gone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It sounds disrespectful if I don't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's like, if it's not true in the moment, why would it, like, if you can't sit there in the moment and be like, everything's okay as you're pulling these bodies out of the car, why do you think it's okay to say a year later? Why
Right.
would that make it
Right. And ultimately,
better?
people when they're trying to heal you, they're trying to make themselves feel better because it hurts them to be around you because they know the pain you've been in. And so they're trying to, it's projecting their own, like, it's okay, because that's what we do, is try to heal that feeling when, anyone who's been through loss. I mean, I've had recently, like Amy Evans, Amy Jacobson lost her brother recently and reached out, and we shared some thoughts together. I had a friend whose dad just passed away, and it like we talked about before also, the pain's the same. People that have felt it, they've felt it and they get it. And you do feel crazy, especially if you're the first one in like your kind of group that's been through such horrible loss. You feel kind of crazy. But then you start connecting with people and you realize there's a whole network of people that get it. And that's who you want to be with. And if they don't get it, it's uncomfortable to be in a room with them.
Yeah, and that's why I love this podcast. Is I found people.
You find them. Mm-hmm.
Curry Bulger? Curry? Like, I thought I had the worst story.
Yeah.
For a while. And then starting this podcast, like, oh shit, like, there's stories out there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's not about getting rid of the pain. It's about being able to sit in the pain.
Yep.
And then from there, you can decide what you're going to do about the pain. Are you going to try to make something good happen with it, or just wallow in your misery, or just gaslight yourself? Everything will be okay when I die. Yep. And it'll be fine. And you just drink the Kool-Aid of... Why do we think life will be better when we die, by the way? Other than we're just scared. Like,
I think it's hopeful. I think it's something we don't know, and so we can say anything about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think you felt the same. I feel a lot of peace in knowing that whatever's after this life, Kortni's a part of my soul, and she's within me. Those kids are within me, and I don't, because I had a lot of questions after. A lot of people tried to tell me, like she's going to continue to age in heaven. And then other people said she'll stay the same and she'll get to raise her kids. And so it just leaves you with a lot of questions. Those answers don't all tie together. It doesn't make sense. And so all I could say was, I'm going to probably live another 50 years. I mean, hopefully. And I'll be 50 years older. Will I even connect with Kortni at that point?
I think that's all the time.
I'll live longer without her. And that just broke me. And so all I hold on to is every single memory we made is in my heart, and she will always be a part of me. And that's all I need right now.
Yeah. I talked to Colin Campbell, and he said the same thing. Because he's an atheist. Well, kind of like culturally Jewish, but atheist. I'm like, so how do you, like, afterlife? He lost 2 kids to a drunk driver. And I asked him the same question. He said the same thing as you. He's like, I feel like they're very much alive, but not outward into this heaven, but inward into my soul. And I'm like, wow, like that is so, because I feel that too.
Yeah.
Like there's, and isn't it weird, Jordan, that, okay, all the lessons that I'm getting from losing them.
Yeah.
It's Kortni.
Well,
that's who Kortni was. All the things I'm learning.
I wrote something on her birthday, the first birthday after she died, and shared it. But that's exactly, I was like, I've learned patience.
Like,
I've
that
learned
was Kortni.
to be present. Yeah. I've learned to love people. And that's exactly right.
And yeah.
And it's crazy. And so then some people like to tell you that, oh, she completed her life because she learned those lessons early. And I don't know, I guess take that or leave it. But she had it figured out. And I want to be like her every day. And I'm not. I'm not, and I haven't grieved perfectly. And a lot of people have, opinions about how I grieve, how other people grieve. And I guess that's for them. But I'm not perfect, but I strive to be. And I think by holding her close inside of me, and some of that isn't just positive traits. I mean, sometimes I can't show up for something or I don't want to. And there's also Kortni being like, yeah,
Have
who
you
cares?
sometimes, Jordan, sometimes I'll argue with her still. Yeah, like these are like stupid little like, and I just laugh so much. But I mean, something about the car, something about driving.
Yeah.
I just talk to all of them and talk to her and do that.
Yeah, I just say that day happened. Like you and I have talked about this before. The old us died, and we're moving forward as new. And sometimes I think about our old life, and I can kind of tap into it still. And it hurts a lot to think about, but it was. I mean, we had everything, and we didn't know it. I mean, that's what I think about. Just the best memories with her. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I'm not looking back saying, I wish I would have spent more time with her, because I spent a lot of time. I feel like I knew her. We worked together. We raised our kids together. I don't know. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like I was codependent on her more than she was me. She was probably like, leave me alone. But she was everything. She was my best friend. She was my sister. She was the only person I shared things with. And I guess, I'm grateful I had that for 30 years when some people never have it.
Yeah.
So.
How do you do with the teeter-totter back and forth of Korni wants me to be happy. They want me to be happy, so I'm going to be happy. And then the guilt of I'm happy, and Kortni doesn't get to be happy today. And so then you just want to not be happy. How's that been for you?
I feel like I have a relationship with my personal Kortni, I guess. That I feel when I feel that way, when I feel like life's too good and I'm moving on too quick, I always see her face. Like, I remember I was on a run once, and you're just thinking about her, and I looked up, and I just, and I know this was all in my mind, but it was like she was there and she was telling me I had done a good job. And so whenever I feel that way, that comes back, and I just see her going, because she was that to me. Everything I did, she encouraged. She was just that way. I mean, she was not the person that would sit and say, well, have you thought about this? She would encourage. So for me, I hold her little face just telling me it's okay. She was so low maintenance, that it was like, you're fine. You're doing great. And then other times, Mace, I'm like, listen, you don't know what it has been like to lose you and to have to go through all this. You never went through that. You don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So I have both. I mean, I don't know.
Like, you got the easy part. Like, you guys went on vacation without me in Blue. Like, you left us here. Like,
exactly.
what the hell?
Yeah.
Why couldn't we? Yeah. And then other times I'm mad at me that it was my fault.
I have a different relationship to it, Mace, because I know that obviously, because you're having to like I don't have to get a new sister. She's just going to be cherished right there. Thankfully, I do have another sister, but as far as that, I don't have to replace her. And you have this dual role of like, I think you do have the right to move on. And then, so you have that kind of feeling where I will never get that part of it.
Yeah, like, love Sammy so much, but lots of guilt with that.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me is like, there should be no guilt. And then part of me just can't help it. Like,
yeah.
And the guilt isn't so much I fell in love again. It's I'm so much better as a partner now. Like, I
get that.
I wish I knew some things that I could have given to Kortni.
Well, and I have a piece of that in like, man, I mean, we were just getting to the part of life. Like, I feel like in your 20s, you get married, you kind of keep your lives separate. You're kind of in competition with each other. Like, and then your 30s hit and you start to just break down the walls. And we were just getting there. And I have those feelings like, man, I would just cut the BS so much earlier now because I don't have all those same beliefs and thoughts that we all need to be a certain way. And I just know we could have connected further and I could have, known her better. But
And I think about, because I moved back to St. George, Carly moves down, Keisha moves down.
Yeah.
I'm like, man,
yeah.
like how cool would that be?
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel bad for having that thought because I'm with Sammy, who's amazing. And so I'm like, well, that's fucked up to her. Like,
Yeah.
because she's amazing. But I love that I made that connection. Like all the benefits, things to learn from this. It was Kortni all the time.
Yeah.
And that means so much to me and just how amazing she was. And
Yeah.
you said it, like as bad as it was, as bad as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like think about the pain we felt today.
Yeah.
Going there and talking about it and watching your heartbreak and my heartbreak. I would do it again though.
Oh yeah.
Versus never knowing her
Mm-hmm.
or having Riggins and Frankie.
Yep.
I
100%. I wouldn't.
And this, I think the pain outweighs the joy, but it's still worth the pain to get that joy.
Exactly. It's like falling in love. I mean, every time you fall in love, there's a risk of getting hurt, but you do it anyway. And that's the joy, the reality of loving anyone. Anybody listening to this, everyone you know is going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where like, do I love you enough to hurt so bad later? Like, that's really what, like, is this worth this much pain?
Right.
No,
and I
seriously.
could have kept my distance from her. Didn't have to be close to her. We could have went our separate ways. And maybe this would have been easier for me. But would I wish that? No way.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. Anything else, Jay, you want to say before we wrap up with favorite movies? Why are you smiling so big?
Well, because I know you're going to ask me my favorite movie and I have no idea. I don't know. Just, it's not if you're going to go through this, it's when. Maybe it's not as violent or sudden or not anytime soon, but everyone's going to go through it. And so I think just remember that connection with other people is all we have. And that's what I just love to talk about with everyone is nothing else matters. So.
Wow, tying in Metallica right there. I love it.
I know. It's our family motto now.
I love you, Jay. I love Courtney. I know you knew that.
Yeah.
And
Love you, Mace.
I see a lot of Courtney in you, obviously. So it's fun to be around you and Dave. Okay, movies.
Okay.
Hold on. Look.
We listen and we don't judge, Mace. Okay.
I was just trying to think, like, what are some of Courtney's favorite? She loved Friends. Oh, she loved the whole 9 yards.
Oh, that is our childhood movie.
She, thought that was the greatest film ever
Oh,
made.
yeah. We quoted it nonstop. And you know what's funny is a lot of people don't even know that movie exists. Go watch it, okay?
It's a solid movie.
Solid. Yeah. We watched it all the time.
Bruce Willis and then that dude.
It's a little racy. I mean, there's some nudity in it, but we watched it as kids. It was no problem.
Yeah.
She loved the, Slapshot Regatta movie.
Oh, She's Out of My League.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
She loved anything you loved, Mace. That's Kortni.
I'd be watching a game. She's like, "Who we cheering for?"
Yeah.
And not only would she ask that, but then the white team, she would be like, "Make a shot!" Like she would be like, I'm like, "Whoa, wow!"
Yep.
Oh man, she
got really into Vampire Diaries. Her and Casey really got into that show.
I tried watching that with her. I'm like, this is I can't do this.
But
you know what show we also loved? Cobra Kai. We got hooked. She loved Cobra Kai.
We did watch a lot of Friends growing up.
Grace and Frankie, she liked.
Oh, she did.
She loved Schitt's Creek.
Oh, wow.
David.
She loves that she's comedy, lighthearted. She did not like serious stuff.
And she could not do a horror movie.
Yeah.
Remember we watched, oh my God. this horror movie, and the next day she couldn't sleep. She was terrified. She comes home from work. She's like, Mason, guess what? The fourth kind. She's like, Mason, guess what? The fourth kind isn't real. I read it. I'm like, Court, I could have told you that. You think people are just
Google.
levitating off their beds? Like, what are you talking about? Satan's throwing microwaves across the kitchen? Of course it's not
She
real.
was gullible, even as a kid. I mean, I cut her bangs when she was
so
little.
gullible. I'd mess with her so much.
She was so gullible, and it's out of love. She just wanted to believe everyone was as good a person as her. She expected everyone to help out like she did, because she would drop anything. I mean, I've told a lot of stories about her, but just crazy stuff that I would never do. That's what, personality-wise, me and Casey are a little bit more, I don't know, assertive, I guess. We were always the more assertive ones. Type A, I think both of us are. And then Kortni was this little, short. We're both tall. She was the short one. She was like joyful, happy, struggled in school because she's a type B personality, but also was the only one that got a college degree. So it was like, but like participated in everything. I mean, it was like every sport, you could convince Kortni, and she would go all in. I have a CD of her singing the Wicked songs, which I want to, I don't know, I want to get everybody a copy, but she just all of a sudden in middle school was a soloist, and we were like, what are you doing? She didn't care. She just, everything.
I remember her first dating. She's like, I have this. It was on a CD, the song she was saying.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, it's terrible. You want to listen to it? I'm like, okay. Like, she knows it's terrible.
I would never have touched it.
I know.
No, are you kidding me? No. And she's like, yeah, singing it, distributing
Even
it.
like if we'd go to church or like a hand up, like, Court, can you just keep your hand down for a half hour?
She did not have shame.
The
shame
she felt
emotion.
bad. If someone asked a question and she was worried about it, I'm like, someone needs to help this person out.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'll say something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Enough about Korni.
Okay. Anyway.
All right. Your top 3 favorite movies now.
Okay. Aaron Brockovich.
Oh, I actually remember you talking about that one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That one is a true story.
Yep.
Kortni.
Bad A woman. I guess that's my theme. Also legal stuff. And I love A Few Good Men.
Wow. Kortni loved that one too, actually. That's old school.
Yeah, I think old school is what I like the 90s, because I was a kid.
That was the best time for movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then A Time to Kill.
Wow.
I wanted to be a lawyer growing up.
Sounds like
I think that's what it is.
Is that a true story, A Time to Kill?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. I like that movie too with
it's over a book.
It's the guy, the Texas football guy.
McConaughey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
Who's in every movie, I think.
Yeah.
So. Jordan, thanks for coming on. This was brutal, but good.
Thanks, Mace. I was nervous.
That beginning, I'm like, I don't know if we can do this, but we fought through.
Thanks for letting me talk about that day. I run through it in my mind a lot, but I don't talk about it. So I think this is going to be good for me.
See?
Yeah.
Don't you feel
lighter?
Good? Yeah, like you just threw up. Like,
yeah.
All right.
I feel bad for anyone that has to listen to it, but...
Well, yeah. Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it.